Hello, this is Danny Raymond, the voice behind Ray's Guide. Now is the time to dig more into my redesign of the Genesis Starliner and the passenger transport career missions. So let's talk first about the subject of star citizen careers in general. My model for star citizen careers, any of them, is a Venn diagram. The one side of the diagram is always flying starships. Flying starships is the grand unification theory of star citizen. Now, what makes one career different than another is what is in the other side of the Venn diagram. So the left side is starships, the right side is scanning, cracking, excavating, and refining, and the intersection is mining. Make the second sphere be scraping, exploding, grinding, and looting, and you get salvage. Make the second sphere be disabling, boarding, and looting, and you get piracy. So, what is the second sphere of passenger transport career? In the original specification, it is a mixture of management decisions about routing, pricing, amenities, and managing the customer interaction with the NPC passengers, plus the flying part emphasizing smooth rides and on-time arrivals. Now, the change that I have proposed is that with taking the NPCs out of the loop on mission success, is that the second bubble becomes entirely a game of making the management decisions that balance passenger satisfaction with profitability. In other words, the second sphere is kind of like a railroad tycoon game. So we're getting into those management decisions. So that deserves a lead up to the first subject about the ship itself, and that is crew size. The fully crewed size of my redesigned Genesis is 8, but that is 4 players and 4 NPCs. The 4 players' positions are pilot, co-pilot gunner, engineer, and engineer's mate. The 4 NPC crew are 1 chief steward and 3 stewards. Yes, since the activities of serving the customers is not gamed, there is no point in having players be the ones doing the customer service. So they are NPCs and will be spawned and despawned as you would hire and furlough them. Like the NPC passengers, they will go about the motions, but it is just theater. The actual level of customer satisfaction will be based on an algorithm, not on whether the actual interactions are performed. So the main management task is hiring enough NPCs, paying them well, and giving them enough paid time off. So let's return to the ship. There are 2.5 decks of the ship. From bottom up, they are the hospitality deck, habitation deck, and engineering deck. Each of the decks are separated into public areas towards the bow and service areas towards the aft. I wanted the ship to have the ability to use both docking ports and star bases and also hangars at landing zones. But I wanted the pathing for the NPC passengers to be simple and the same in both cases. So the flat prow of the hospitality deck is a pair of panels that slide aside to expose a standard docking port door. However, when landed, a ramp slides out and down from underneath, allowing the same door, or rather airlock, to be used. The airlock allows the additional flexibility and also is presumed to be used for security screening of passengers. Past the airlock, the passengers go into this forecourt of the hospitality deck, and then between these 2 desks, where they are presumed to be assigned their cabins and seats and presumed to be given their goodie box. The goodie box is a way of abstracting most of the minor decisions about providing provisions to the passengers and an explanation why most of them won't be needing to ever leave their cabins during the trip. The goodie boxes are available as a standard item in multiple levels of quality. So, for example, passengers, you might give a quality 1 or 2 or 3 goodie bag. For business passengers, a quality 3, 4, or 5, and so on. So the second management decision is how much you want to spend on each class of service for these goodie boxes. Returning to the exterior of the ship, you see that I made the landing gear 4 simple piston clusters at the 4 corners to avoid the tendency of the Hercules to tip onto its nose, which would be embarrassing to a passenger captain. And yes, the wingtips do rotate up to expose VTOL thrusters, again at 4 corners to create a very stable VTOL thrust configuration. There is a crew lift that goes to the ground and all 3 decks of the ship. This lift is large enough to handle 4 SCU boxes for reasons I will get into later. There is also 3 secondary lifts on each side, each holding 6 SCU of boxes. These are separate from the main cargo area and are intended for passenger luggage and ship stores. These have the unique ability that when lowered, they are accessible for loading from the outside of the ship, and when they are raised, they are accessible from the inboard side, which is handy for ship stores. Passenger luggage also plays a unique role. Since we aren't making mission success based on the passenger AI, how do we measure things like on-time departure and arrival, G-forces, etc.? Well, we do it by the luggage boxes. We already have mission boxes that have timers, G-force limits, etc., so there's a starting point for boxes to work from. And of course, there would need to be checks that players don't exploit by putting, say, the luggage on a different ship and only moving the luggage. But all that is easier done with a box that doesn't also have to do a whole lot of other behaviors like being able to walk around. Continuing around the exterior of the ship, we get to the rear of the ship where there is a vertical bifold door accessing the main cargo hold, which can carry 256 SCU in as few as 8 32 SCU boxes, 4 across and 2 high. And that has become apparent with manual cargo loading. It's just as important to have an efficiency of how few boxes need to be loaded and unloaded as the total SCU. The cargo hold also features a second-level catwalk, which makes loading and unloading the upper level of boxes easier without scraping them all over the walls and ceiling. This airlock door high above the ground serves an additional purpose that I will get to when I talk about the engineering deck. Returning to the interior of the ship, though, I had to ask, what is the Crusader style for high-end public spaces? So I derived clues from the Green Circle Apartments and the Stratus Center at Cloudview and Orison. And what I took from them is a fondness for rhythmic structural elements, non-right angles where practical, combining mid to dark colors with woods and glasses, having slat linear ceilings, and using bright brass as a highlight metal instead of chrome. I made this example with a maroon paint color and cherry wood, but one feature I would suggest for the Genesis would be interior paint packages. For example, green with beach like the Green Circle Apartments or standard Crusader blue with maple. I also kept with Orison's love of planters, but I left off the water feature since obviously they would be impractical on a ship that is moving about. The large 2-story atrium space would certainly use a central focus feature, but with player furnishings now being available, I decided to leave that to the player's creativity so that their particular space line could have a unique personality. That is a theme I'll be returning to. At the far end of the atrium is a semicircular bar, behind which is a circular elevator connecting the 2 passenger areas. However, NPC pathing will usually follow the stairs for simplicity reasons. Returning to the hospitality deck, there are 2 doors of the aft of the crew-only area. This view is facing aftward on the port side. However, the layout of the ship of this area is symmetrical, so the starboard side would be similar. As you can tell, the feel is distinctly different than the public areas of the ship. To the outboard side, we have the ability to access the luggage and ship stores lifts. In the inboard side, the first door here is the entrance to a rather large kitchen that extends all the way to the other hallway, so that the kitchen can be loaded from both sides. If you take food and beverage items from the crates of the ship and add them to the inventory of the kitchen, they will then become available for the passengers to buy. These can be simple things like protein bars and meal chunks to various fruits and vegetables to gourmet liquors and delicacies. Obviously, different items will have different popularity with passengers of different classes of service, affecting both their number of sales and passenger satisfaction. You can also set the markup over the normal retail price for the convenience of having them available on board. Obviously, a high markup improves profit, but low markup improves sales and satisfaction. The next door back of the port side is the entrance to the hospitality manager's quarters on the starboard side and the captain's quarters on the port. The hospitality manager's office includes a console to view food and beverage sales, set the markup, and to activate or stand by the stewards. The next door on the port side back is the bunk room for the stewards, and on the starboard side, the bunk room for the players. These 2 hallways connect both sides, provide access to the elevator, and have a total of 4 downward ejecting escape pods. And I'm continuing with the middle deck, the passenger deck. Forward on the passenger deck are all the passenger cabins surrounding the central atrium. Then there is a circular glass elevator, which, along with the grand staircase, connects the hospitality to the passenger deck. Now, directly aft of the elevator is a set of double doors leading to one of the most exciting features of my Genesis redesign, the club room. And yes, it doesn't look like much, And that is what makes it exciting, because this is the first furnishings room on a ship. In 3.24, we have the ability to buy furniture, attach it to cargo grids of ships, and have the furniture be functional. The primary example of that so far has been chairs, but the underlying principle of it is the same. So this is a space to bring in functional furniture elements and make the club room be unique from every other Genesis. There are 12 small cargo grids on the floor here, each 2x2 SCU, which you may recall is the maximum that I said that the elevator could be able to lift. I'm envisioning things like saunas, hydrotherapy tubs, workout gear, massage tables, vending machines, gambling, and at the very high end, Tier 3 med beds. I expect these to be buyable in-game, but, well, never put it beyond CIG to also sell things for real money, too. But the point is, you will have the ability to make your club area on your Genesis to be a workout gym, a health spa, a casino, a restaurant, or whatever. If the furniture item is attached to one of the grid squares, it can have the ability to improve the attractiveness of your ship for customers and or to bring in a trickle of additional revenue per passenger, depending on the trip length. Also, the bonus attractiveness and revenue might depend on the category of service. So, for example, within the category of gambling, economy class passengers might want slot machines and video poker, while businesses might want roulette tables, first class passengers like blackjack, and luxury class passengers like baccarat. Now, to be clear, that this is gambling that the NPC passengers are presumed to play and not available for the players to gamble, so as to not have all the complexities and legal complications of online casino regulations. So now does this empty space seem more exciting? Now, the next part is optional, but why not have one of these four squares be a stage element, which gives a boost to attractiveness, but only if a player is standing on it, has their mic open, and is saying something. So yes, you can fulfill your dreams of being a stand-up comedian in space.
I didn't know what the appendix was, but I don't feel that bad. The doctor told me science isn't even sure what the appendix does exactly. Science isn't even sure why the appendix exists. And I heard that and I was like, oh my gosh, the appendix is like a Kardashian.
Behind the club space on the second deck is the gallery around the upper level of the cargo bay. Pretty unremarkable. So let's go on to the uppermost deck, the engineering deck. And working forward astern, we have the cockpit, which will look familiar to Spirit and Starrunner owners. 2 seats that slide forward, side by side, into a wedge-shaped glass prow. Except that I've designed it so that the pedals, yoke, etc. are mounted to the center console rather than the floor, so that there is more glass visibility downward. And this is done for 2 reasons. The first is so that the passengers can look up and see people in charge of their safety. In the other direction, if there is a social event going on in the atrium, the pilot and co-pilot can look down and still feel that they are a part of it. So, for example, if you've ever been at a social event on an 890 jump, anyone on the bridge is sort of disconnected from it. That's what I'm trying to avoid. Behind and between the pilot and co-pilot seats facing forward is a stand-up station for the engineer, as well as 2 fuse panels on the walls. Continuing aftward, and again, this is just schematic, there is a short hall containing, front to back, 4 weapons racks, 4 suit lockers, and 4 upward launching escape pods. Also, this hallway is able to act as an airlock and has a drop-down ladder and a hatch for emergency egress. Behind the airlock corridor is forward engineering, which is a half deck down. To the one side is the door to the captain's ready room, and the other side the crew ready room. In the center is the main elevator that goes all the way down to the ground, and in the corner the backup ladder to all floors, and this soffit above is where the pop-up turret retracts into. Behind the bifold doors of the forward engineering area are smaller components like life support, sensors, and avionics. At the aft wall of forward engineering is the airlock door to main engineering. And you will note that I gave main engineering a lot of floor space so that there would be plenty of room for the players to remove the large-size components, work on them, and replace them, or to swap out busted large-size components for new large-size components. And this is where that airlock door at the rear of the ship comes in, so that if necessary, in the middle of a voyage, bring a replacement component, install it, and have the broken component taken away, all without having to depressurize or inconvenience any of the passengers. And then to make this even more convenient, there's an extendable landing shelf and for loading and unloading. And to make it really convenient, I made it just large enough to be able to land a Pisces on it. And to keep this from being exploited, to not make the Genesis a different kind of ship, the ICS is severely limited in motion when the platform is extended. So that brings me front to back on all three levels, both on this attempt to bring the Genesis to the very latest in the Crusader style guide and game technology, and with it to talk about how to do passenger transport careers to match. It was a lot of fun to be able to fully flex my design muscles on a quite complex item. Frankly, the only thing I would change would be to make the lowered bifold doors and ramp a little wider in order to have a couple nooks on each side of the cargo area to garage an Atlas in. Now, to CIG, I know that you're wary of using things that fans create over concerns about accusations that you are stealing ideas. Well, there's a simple solution for that, and that is to buy the design from me, and then you can freely pick ideas wholesale from it however you wish. I'm constantly in need of ships for my giveaways, so hey, wouldn't even have to involve any actual cash. Win-win. Which brings me to my giveaways, which, yes, I have to buy every one of them. First, we have the special membership level for CitizenCon with its own giveaway for Hull C, the colossal cargo container carrying craft. And yes, there are not many tickets left in the pot, so chances are quite good compared to most ship giveaways. Plus, we have our regular Grow the Channel ship giveaway for the Zippy Zazzy Zapdigs Zephyr, the Zeus 2 cargo, which we're just waiting for the subscriber goal for. We've seen the launch preview of the Zeus 2, and it looks quite promising. So it'd be great to be able to give a giveaway simultaneously with the ship actually becoming available in the game. So let's hurry up with those last few hundred subscribers. And then beyond that, the marvelous multiplayer, multi-role mining meta, the Erasta. 1 entry per video, be a member for automatic entry, or subscribe and comment with the secret word. And the secret word for this video is what body part is like a Kardashian. Fly safe, keep it real, and I'll see you in the verse. This is Danny Raymond for Ray's Guide.